Hello, and welcome to this screencast from Easy Peasy Photoshop Tutorials. On this screencast, we want to look at Photoshop preferences. So let's get right to it. If you go up and click on Photoshop and go down to Preferences, and you'll see a submenu that comes up, and we'll go through these menus and we'll decide how we want to set up Photoshop in terms of preferences. So we'll start with General. And as you can see, a window comes up. Now, a lot of these they come up in a default way. You can click off and on, and as you can see, zoom resizes windows, or zoom with scroll window. You can click on like that, and whenever you press OK, it will keep those. But instead, pressing OK right now, we're just going to keep on going through. Down here below is a history log, and whenever you click that on and say metadata and detailed, what it will do is record everything that you do in Photoshop in the metadata in a text file. Now if you have a job, you may end up having to do this for certain types of contexts. However, if you're just using Photoshop at home, there's really no need for it. So let's go on. We'll go to the interface, and again, all of these will give you different types of colors, different types of drop shadows, whether you want one, a line, a drop shadow, or nothing, different colors, and these are just giving you an idea of what the look and feel of Photoshop is. Panels and documents do the same thing. You can open them up, click on which ones that you want, and you can play around with these and see what you like. Next one is file handling. I always have the image previews on save. This is a default. I always have everything else on here. That makes for good compatibility. And I always use a pen file extension. Have always clicked on, and I always have the use lowercase. Now if you want some camera raw preferences, you can click on this and you get another window that comes up. And if you do a lot of digital photography, you can play with these settings. If we get into some camera raw situations, we'll get more deep into these types of preferences later. Version Q, enable version Q. This is really, in terms of using it within a production environment, I think the default is that it's on. You really don't have to worry about it if you're using it at home. Some businesses will use this capability. Under performance, now this is where we really want to look at in terms of RAM. You can move this number as much as you want, but you have to make sure and remember that what you want is to have enough information or enough memory available to run your operating system and to run other programs if you want to do that while Photoshop is running. If Photoshop uses up the RAM memory, then it has here scratch disks, and this is the way that Photoshop used to run because RAM was in short supply years ago. It was very expensive, and you would really run Photoshop off your hard disk. And today we don't do that as much, but it still has that opportunity here. If you're working on really big files, you can actually work up a disk array, a RAID disk array, and have that set up as your scratch disk, and that will help in certain situations, especially if you are a power user. Here you have history and cache. History states whenever you increase the number of these and cache levels, you increase the amount of memory that's going to start using up over here in your RAM. Some people like to turn these off when they want all the RAM to go into the image editing areas of Photoshop. Some people like to have these. These are the default numbers, and I just leave them pretty much where they're at. Here's where I will make changes. The standard is like that. I really don't like the standard. I don't like the icons, so I put it on a normal brush tip. You can have a full brush tip if you like. I go for a normal one and a precise. So whenever I'm sampling from the image, I get this precise little icon that comes up and helps me to do that. Brush preview is default. So you know, this is a preference that I have. You may like something different. That's okay too. Here we have transparency settings. Again, you can decide if you want it larger, a different color. Gamut warning, you can give that a different color. If we go on units and rulers, right now on my rulers I have it in pixels instead of inches or centimeters and millimeters. Type is in points. Column size, unless you get into using a lot of type in Photoshop, this is where this will come in to play. New documents, this is what the defaults will be whenever you want to do a new document. Guides, grids, and slices. Again, these are color preferences. You can pick out different colors that you want. You can have it as solid lines or dashed lines. Again, you can play around with this and make a decision how you want it. Grids are the same way. You know, color can be, you know, custom, whatever that is, and you can pick that color. Shows up over here. Slices, the same thing. You can pick the color that you want and show those slice numbers. Here you have the plugins. If you have an additional plugin folder, this is where you're going to click here and choose where that folder is. Again, having the default settings are okay for most circumstances. And extension panels are the same type of thing. And then finally, the last preference panel that shows up are type options. And so everything is pretty much shown except for the show Asian text options. Don't need that. So in a lot of ways, a lot of the defaults are okay. There's a few areas in which I would like to have change, and so I've shown those changes. And when you're done, you press OK. Now when you press OK, these things are not going to take effect until you shut down Photoshop and then open it back up. So remember that. And that is a quick tour of Photoshop preferences. Go through these preferences and see what they do and decide how you want to set up Photoshop in terms of color preferences, memory, scratch disk, and things like that. Save it, and then you'll be ready to go and start learning how to use Photoshop to edit your images. And that's it for now. And we'll see you next time, and take it easy.